Morgan Freeman had an epiphany in the cockpit of a jet. He didn't want to be a fighter pilot. He just wanted to play one in the movies. So once he was out of the Air Force, he packed his bag and took off for the West Coast. The young man was confident Hollywood would greet him with open arms.
Here I am. Hey, Ma, look at me. I'm in Hollywood. I'm gonna do it, you know?
At that point in time, for a black man to move out west and say, I want to be an actor is kind of that's a daunting task.
Boy, talk about a Hail Mary pass.
This is a town that eats people alive.
Obviously, the hill that Morgan had to climb is much tougher than any white actor.
But Freeman was determined. He walked into Paramount, ready for his first role. And right away, they wanted to hire him to run office machines. Clearly, breaking into the movies would be tougher than he thought.
I didn't have any money, and I didn't have any wheels. And I actually didn't have enough money to ride the bus from where I was to where I needed to be, because the bus ran through zones, and in every different zone, you had to pay another fare. I ran completely, totally, and absolutely out of money. But I'd made friends, so I could eat once in a while.
He took free acting classes at community college. The price was right for the cash-strapped Freeman, but the lessons and the professor could be harsh.
My voice was a lot higher, and my speech was a lot slower. The first time I stood up in class and said anything, he stopped me. And he said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Morgan Freeman." He said, "Not Step and Fetch It?"
So Freeman worked on his voice and in office temp jobs around LA, but acting jobs were non-existent. Yet Freeman had heard there was work for actors on Broadway. So the young man changed his tack and set off for New York City.
I think if I had any even moderate clue how hard it is for an actor to break into show business, I would have run screaming into the night.
It's not only filled with rejection, but it's filled with no money for a long, long time.
There are thousands of actors. So you gotta either be lucky or want it real bad or probably a lot of both.
I didn't have a plan of action. I stumbled around trying to find backstage. Couldn't do it.
Show business, period, is not for the faint of heart, because there's no question. You have to persevere.
You know, your best friend at times like that is your own profound ignorance, because you just have no idea what's ahead.
He auditioned endlessly, but the doors to the theater seemed to be closed to Freeman. But a window had opened through dance.
My teacher said, "You have a knack. You should study dance, because actors who can dance, sing and dance. Triple threat."
I see him very much as a dancer. He's got that length and that leanness.
Have you heard him sing? He's a great singer, too.
Freeman worked hard on these new skills. Then when he heard about an opening in a musical theater company on the West Coast, he made yet another course correction. Freeman joined the Opera Ring in San Francisco. Here, he performed in a range of shows, and his work was singled out by critics. Finally, things were looking up for the 25-year-old. But then, the director cast Freeman as an American Indian.
She says, and at the end, when we do our big final production number, you know, you'll come through and you'll be waving the flag. And I said, "No." She said, "No?" She said, "You get a little press and it goes to your head. Now, I want you to play the Indian, and the Indians are going to be waving the flag. And if you can't do that, I don't need you here."
If somebody wants him to do something on the set or wants him to dress a certain way, or he always asks why.
If you know Morgan, you can see he has his own true north. You know, he's a principled man.
Well, I couldn't do it, so I had to leave. That was painful.
Following a friend's advice, Freeman returned to New York to continue studying dance. Here, he found film work for the first time as an extra in The Pawnbroker. and he was a dancer in the 1964 World's Fair. And then, the jobs dried up.
I think a lot of people would just become very bitter and go crazy, and that instantly turns you into a negative being, and it just becomes a downward spiral.
The 28-year-old actor hit bottom. Poor and hungry, Freeman had a choice. He could use his office skills to find a job, be a clerk, and live a normal life, or act. And so he made a fateful decision.
Well, it comes a time when you say it's either this or death. I'm not going to try to do anything else. I'm going to die trying to do this.
And so in 1965, Freeman stayed the course. He was determined to be an actor. But the long, hard struggle to break into show business would test that resolve.